Guys, today we're going to take a look at what might be the worst Summoners War tier list. Or is it? See, I actually feel like this might not be the worst Summoners War tier list. I feel like this is just a very old Summoners War tier list for specifically RTA only, which they don't clarify what exactly in the game. I'm assuming it's supposed to be for RTA only regardless, but they're trying to pass this off as a Summoners War tier list for Summoners War in general on July 31st, 2021. So currently it is August 1st, 2021. So this is claims that it was posted yesterday. I'm calling BS. I feel like if we were looking at this on April 1st, 2021, it would have said that this was done on March 31st. So I don't think that this is necessarily a bad tier list. I think that this is a very old tier list that is trying to pass itself off as being a new relevant tier list, and I think that the person that wrote this on their website, whatever, doesn't actually play Summoners War. So this is potentially dangerous if there's, let's say hypothetically, there's some new players coming into Summoners War. They look up a tier list, they're like, I want to know what the most new relevant tier list is, what monsters I should build, what things I should be using in all the contents. Again, should say RTA as well. Number one, they're going to go see this. They're going to say, Summoners War tier list, great. This was posted just yesterday. I'm going to go and focus my entire Summoners War experience around building and acquiring these specific units, which is just not relevant. This is like honestly, I feel like this is a 3-year-old RTA tier list that is trying to pass itself off as a new tier list. The thing that we can take away from this, though, and we'll take a look at the tier list. Don't worry, guys. Antares is number 1 on the tier list. That's how that was my first red flag that this might not be an currently accurate tier list from July 31st. That Antares is number 1. I don't see a lot of people first picking Antares in RTA, putting Antares on their arena offense, defense, guild wars, guild siege, giants B12 teams. So that was my first indication. I also don't think that that this person actually plays Summoners War, which we'll get into in a second. But I think one of the things that we can actually take away from this is we can look at this tier list, right? And we can say, oh, this is how much some of these units have changed. Some of the units that are super high on the tier list are like nowhere now. Some of the things that are super low on the tier list are like, wow, that's super S tier. I can't believe that used to be a couple years ago. Because again, I really feel like this is a couple-year-old tier list. Someone's just trying to pass off as a Summoners War general tier list, and this is probably a 3-year-old RTA tier list. But we can take a look at some of these units and say, like, wow, this has changed so much over the years. And I really think that this is kind of dangerous for new players to take a look at and say, I mean, there are, let's be real, there are still some new players that come into the game. There's not a lot of them, but there are still some. But I think this is dangerous for new players to come in and see this and see like, oh, this is a great tier list. Build all this stuff. But anyway, let's take a look. You could skip past this introduction. I want to read this because I think this is funny. Summoners War. This is them trying to explain what Summoners War is. Summoners War is an action role-playing game which was released in 2014. An action, not a turn-based role-playing game, an action role-playing game which was released in 2014. You are supposed to be in a fantasy world where you have to play a role of a monster. Are you sure? Not the role of a summoner. Role of a monster and fight for your survival. You have to collect necessary things for your survival. There will be some other monster present in the fantasy world. You have to battle against them. I mean, they nailed the description. That's 10 out of 10. I can't think of any problems with that, but let's continue. There are more than 1,000 monsters present in the game. I feel like this person doesn't even play the game. The reason that I also feel it this way is because there are all these tier lists on the side. I'm like, I really play these games to understand what's on the tier list, so you're just trying to get people to watch your website so you could sell ad space. There are more than 1,000 monsters present in the game. This is actually a fairly common misconception. There's only like 600 to 700 monsters in Summoners War. A lot of the monsters in the collection are awakened. So remember, you have a lot of those that are in there twice because they're awakened. You have to pick your best team out of the list. Oh, I can't wait to pick my best team out of your list. Every monster possesses a unique skill. Should we do RTA based on just picking according to their list? Maybe that's a terrible idea. That's definitely a terrible idea. If you guys want to see that, leave in the comments. We could do that. Every monster, because I think that might be fun. Every monster possesses a unique skill set to fight the battle against other monsters. This battle will be a strategic battle. You have to make a complete strategy for your team. This strategy will affect the result of the battle. I feel like this is kind of obvious. Obvious, but I also feel like this is how I phrase sentences. I say the same thing 3 times, and then I'm like, oh, right. You can collect all the collectible items. Again, saying the same collect all the collectible items. This is definitely how I would speak. The playing field to make some equipment for yourself. Wait, what? You can collect collectible items from the playing field to make some equipment for yourself. I don't know that they actually play Summoner's War. These are the people. This is people crap on YouTubers because they're like, YouTubers are so stupid, they don't know anything, they don't say anything. I'd rather just read from something that someone wrote online. It's so much faster, it's so much more. Like, this is what you're getting. You craft items and make equipment for yourself from the items that you're doing. So, this is okay. You can play with your friends in multiplayer mode, right? Oh, I mean, we could. Sure, you can add up to 3 friends of yours to kill the enemy monsters and their bosses in the form of a team. You'll be awarded with rewards on killing every boss. Okay, I mean, in 3 friends of yours, in arena offense, you can add up to 3 other monsters. If we're talking dungeons, there's 5. You don't even play as one monster. You play as a summoner who summons monsters. They obviously have played this game before, obviously. Oh, there's more. Oh, but wait, there's more. You can fight with a player all around the globe in player versus player mode of Summoner's War. You must have a mobile phone. See, I don't know if that's actually true or not. That might be true. Characters of Summoner's War games are categorized into 5 groups. I feel like this is going to be good. The leading characters in Group S are Antares, Fire Lich, Artemiel, Light Archangel. They have got the unmatched moves that cannot be compared with any others. The most prominent characters in Group A are Aegir, Water BK, and Akroma, Light Valkyria. Their skills and utility game is very close to the S tiers. The main characters in Group B are Amdua, Dark Horse, and Beta Dark. People go start the game and be like, okay, I gotta get Akroma, I gotta get the Dark Mermaid, I gotta get the Dark Horse, I gotta get the Light Archangel. Okay, I know exactly what units I need to build to be good in Summoner's War. Then they play for 7 years and they're like, I have none of these units. That tier list might have been a little bit incorrect. Main heroes, okay, we already saw that. These characters can perform well if you handle them carefully. Guys, you have to handle them carefully. Don't be rough and aggressive with them. Some of the heroes in Group C are Amarna, Light Anubis, Annabelle, Water Cult Girl. Players around the world hesitate to pick them up. Guys, I know you're hesitant to pick up Annabelle and Amarna. Very sketchy units. Some characters of Group D are Alicia, Water Polo Queen, and Beth, Water Hell Lady. These characters are the weakest in the list. This is obviously for an RTA list. This is like the rest of Summoner's War. Like, these units are not the weakest in every aspect of Summoner's War. Alicia, the Water Polo Queen, one of the best arena offense units. Beth, good arena. Beth is actually pretty decent in RTA now, too. In the current meta of, like, HP tanky things, where she destroys some HP, AoE defense breaks, I think she's kind of an underrated unit. She's still generally not considered very high in the tier list, but I think people could be using her more and being a little bit more effective, because I think she's actually decent. I think she's a little bit underrated. But anyway, these are definitely Alicia and Beth are the weakest in the list. The worst units in all of Summoner's War. Because it doesn't say RTA. It says the worst units in all of Summoner's War. And this is relevant as far as yesterday. This is apparently relevant. Again, I think this is a 2018 RTA tier list. So we have, for these, S tier we're on, and there's a big empty spot, which apparently is probably supposed to be for ads. Antares, Fire Lich, Artemiel, Light Archangel, Fran, Light Fairy Queen. These are the best units in the entire game. That's that. Best units in the entire game. Ganymede, the Wind Fairy King. Okay, solid unit. I mean, like, some of these are solid units. Fran's a solid unit for, like, basically everything. If you want to put Fran in S tier, it's a solid unit. Gianna, Dark Oracle. I mean, this, again, if we're looking at this as far as an RTA tier list from, like, 2018, this is pretty solid. These are units, these are very good units for RTA in 2018. However, this is a Summoner's War Everything tier list in 2021. Josephine the Water Paladin is not the greatest unit for everything in 2021. Josephine is barely used in RTA. Some people use her in RTA. Hathor, with the addition of artifacts, has not really been as strong as she was before. People are opting for different things. There are still people using Ganymede, Hathor combination. Ganymede's just always been great in RTA. There are still people using the Ganymede Hathor combinations. Not as much, but there still are. Pater Dark Druid, he is okay. I'm trying to think of how much I've actually seen. I never fight against Paters, just based on my comp, but I'm sure they're being used. Ragdoll is still definitely a thing. Tiana, I feel like Tiana, even in 2018, was she super relevant in 2018? Or I assume that this is a 2018 tier list for RTA. I feel like this might have been even iffy then. Water Monkey King was definitely popular back in the day. He's still a decent unit. But I mean, S tier above like some of the... Like, I feel like we could see a lot of other things here. Where's Beast Riders? Where's Art Masters? Where's... Well, mages wouldn't be up this high anyway. Vertheal, Vanessa. So this is definitely... I mean, we're looking at... We're looking at this. It's definitely an old tier list. How is this battery already dead is the question. The greatest part about that is I just changed the battery like 20. I think this battery might actually be dying because I just changed the battery like 20 minutes ago. But anyway, let's continue with this. We see things that were, well, Yan Hong is still fantastic for RT. Viva Chell has kind of lost her pizzazz. I think a lot of people that have Viva Chell nowadays, because again, this is basically a relevant tier list for several years ago for RTA. So I'm basically just comparing some of these things to some of the great things back in the day to what would be great nowadays. I feel like a lot of Viva Chell owners would just get Oki'd, would get Shungpung'd, would get skill cooldown resetted, right? So I think a lot of people would would rather have a Lulu than a Viva Chell. You know what? You Viva Chell owners that are actually doing RTA, you let me know in the comments if you would rather have a Viva Chell or a Lulu. Not that Viva Chell's bad, just that the current meta, I feel like Lulu's possibly stronger than Viva Chell with all the cooldown resets. Then we have the A tier. And again, this is kind of how you can tell that this is an old RTA tier list, is Ajir, A tier, Water BK. Well, first off, the Antares. Second off, the Ajir. Because Ajir was just replaced with Barbara. Ajir was replaced with 2A Mina. So these things are just like, that's why Ajir fell out of meta. So Ajir really wouldn't even be up here. Chroma, Amelia. Amelia we don't really see too much of. And I'm trying to remember the last time I've seen Amelia. We've seen Chloe's lately. Chloe's all the way at the bottom of the list. So we see Chloe's more than we see Amelia's nowadays, I feel. Bassett Water does. Bassett's always good. Bulwark, I think, is a little bit underrated right now, actually. I think that people could be using Bulwark more than they actually are. Celia, which did get a nerf, so Celia is not too much of a... The skill, too, is just so inconsistent. Celia's actually... She can still be used, but she's just inconsistent. We have Daphnis, which is just, again... The Barbara and the Mina kind of made Daphnis less of a thing, although we did see Daphnis more in SWC lately. And then we've also seen people ruining their Minas and ruining their Barbaras up after that because SWC happened, and where SWC is still currently happening at the time that I'm recording this. So people use Daphnis in SWC, then other people follow suit, and they're like, oh, I'm going to use Daphnis too. And then people, ruin these things to like, okay, well, then the meta is going to shift a little bit to the Daphnis and the Mina and the Barbaras and stuff, and then it's going to shift back away from those, I feel, since people are going to start picking Daphnis and be like, okay, people are realizing that I'm just getting countered by these super fast water units. Diana is still a thing. Eleanoa Light Polar Craft. Actually, Eleanoa is, she's A tier, but I feel like she's still A tier. I mean, or is still rather somewhat high in the tier list now. She did get some more turn cycling. She is still a good combination with Eleanoa, Ganymede. There's some toxic stuff that we saw in a couple videos lately. That this is still a really good unit. Ethna's even better. Garo, A tier. So Garo is something that we don't ever see anymore unless you're getting cleaved by a Draco, and then they pick Garo as a speed lead for the Draco, like a Bastet, Draco, Garo, what else? Shimite, Lushen, Julie kind of situation. So that's really only because Garo's so easy to kill. So there's just so many multi-hits, Ikari's, this is actually relevant again. So she fell out of meta, she fell back into meta with the HP-based damage kind of situation. Isis, the Desert Queen. So this Jameer is even more meta now than he used to be. Julianne is kind of out of... I haven't really seen too many people using Julianne. These are still pretty relevant. This is fell out of meta and then into meta again. This is even better than ever, so this would definitely be up there even more. We see some fair... I mean, okay. Should Oki have ever been in A tier? Like, first off, should Oki have ever been in A tier? And I feel like Oki and Perna next to each other. Perna's just not been really relevant. He's just a fire bruiser, or she is just a fire bruiser. Kamto said that they're female. So Perna's just a fire bruiser. Oki's so fantastic, especially after artifacts. So these units are definitely... I feel like they always would have been higher than some of these other things. Than like Perna, for example. But yeah, I feel like some of these units, I wouldn't have even put these even a couple of years ago maybe next to each other. I feel like Teal and Lang I would have put at the top a couple of years ago. Although Perna and the Bruiser, the double immunity, double condom Bruiser teams was kind of more of a thing. So yeah, Perna, Monkey, Molong, double immunity, Beta. Things were different back then, right? And then we see these, we see all the immunities over here. So, what do we have in B tier? Amduat, which we really don't see Amduat, do we? Really don't see Amduat. Beta, Chilling is pretty nice. Chiwu Kreka, which we don't, I feel like these are more useful back in the day for RTA. Again, this has got to be an RTA tier list. Chilling is pretty nice now. Chilling was always nice. Chiwu has been more meta than he was. More meta last season, more meta the season before that. Now he's kind of like less meta, but he's kind of more meta again as well. It's a weird way of phrasing that. Wind Panda, we've actually seen some more people using him lately. Gemini, Helena, Jean, Dark Polar Queen, Light Monkey. See, this is one of those. Should Light Monkey have ever been... I have always loved this Light Monkey, Kitten Dash. I don't feel like I ever would have put him in B tier. He's always been like just a ridiculous control unit. Some of these... Rika B tier. Like, so this is obviously... Like, some of these units are the best in the game. Rika's a fantastic unit. Rika's one of the most banned units. Tableau's a fantastic, ridiculous unit. Tableau's got a crazy good win rate. Light Monkey's one of the best in the game. Like, some of these units are just some of the best in the game. Just period. You could make some arguments that some of these units still belong in, like, down here. Like the Sarion or whatever is a situational unit. Maybe Sekhmet situational unit. Rocky situational unit. Rakuni's not really too much of a thing nowadays either. But, like, Volantis is definitely higher in tier list. There's much more people using Volantis. So... definitely a different situation here that all these things would be higher and low. Like Volantis, Tableau, Rika, Kitten Dash, Kitten Dasheng, the Light Monkey. Call him Kitten Dash if you guys don't know. It's a joke from years ago. But all those would be so much higher. Some of these should be so much lower if this was a relevant. And again, they say it's done yesterday. Was not done yesterday. Amarna, Annabelle. Annabelle's definitely been used so much more nowadays. Chow is definitely more meta nowadays as well. But if we're talking about other parts of the game, like some of these units are much more relevant. Like Bernard is fantastic still for Giants, still for arena offense, still for some of these things in Dimension Hole as well, still for like the Ice Rift Beast. Also, so there's a lot of things. If this was a general Summoners War tier list, you know, some of these things would be so much higher than they actually are. We're just thinking about, like, RTA, because this is clearly, they just stole an RTA tier list, and they said, this is a Summoners War tier list for everything, which it's not. RTA tier lists are for RTA. RTA tier lists really don't apply to the rest of the game, because one of the things that I'll say nice about to us about Summoners War is, things are at least balanced somewhat, in the fact that, like, if a unit is not good in this content, it can still be good in this content, There's so much different content in the game that you can find some kind of use, generally speaking, for most of the units. 90% of the units, you could use it somewhere. Okay, maybe not 90%, 75% of the units, you could use somewhere and it will excel somewhere. Also, we're not seeing a lot of the two-way monsters. So where are the two-way monsters? They weren't around in 2018 where you stole this tier list from, whoever you stole. I think this was actually might have been a Korean tier list, because this looks like a tier list from that I would have seen on Korea. I think the Antares kind of gives it away, because some of the Korean players were like super into like Antares is the most broken unit in the game. He needs to be nerfed immediately, kind of mindset, right? So Jaeger the Light Dragon. I mean, like we're looking at Jaeger as C tier unit. Like that's not Leona the Dark Paladin C tier unit. Okay, Lushen C tier unit. If we're talking about the whole game, as far as so this person that took this tier list, which is basically telling early game players that are looking for Summoners War tier list in 2021, don't build Lushen. Lushen's C tier garbage. I think that I have a problem. I feel like I have a problem with that. Putting Lushen next to things like, well, a lot of these other things. It's just, there's a problem with people that just, never mind. I won't complain. I just feel like some of these things are not quite where they should be. So then we have, I mean, some of these units go up and down. I don't want to go over every single one here. Camilla should be here. Camilla still deserves to be here. Chasun is really not too relevant in too much of anything. Could have been a little bit more. Galleon! There's no reason. The only thing that Galleon is not good in is RTA. And even so, I've seen some people use Galleon, not in like super high tier RTA, but I've seen some people use Galleon for like 300 speed Galleon for super cleave nonsense. Just like where everything is fast. People have been doing that. Not a lot, but some. So some of these units should be here for a lot of things, for a lot of content. But like the Dark Ninja. So you're saying that this tier list that is made yesterday, July 31st, yesterday. You're saying that the Dark Ninja, the thing that we've seen some of the top 5 players in RTA use all the time, you're saying that this, and also the thing that's on other tier lists for RTA, this is a D tier unit. That's why it's obvious that it's an old tier list. It's obviously, but like this is just misinformation for new players. Is like when they see things like this, like Leica, some of these might, but like, even this, like how much things have changed. Let's go back to just obviously talking about like RTA. Like this is an old RTA tier list, clearly. How much things have changed. Pontos used to be considered D tier. People would complain to me, I summoned a Pontos. This unit is worse than a Nat 3. And now it's like, I summoned a Pontos. He's one of the best units in RTA. I'm like, he didn't change that much. He changed. Yeah, he got a buff. But it's just... metas change, things change. Water Sea Emperor got even stronger. Dark Pioneer. Okay, Dark Pioneer is clearly D tier. That's why all the G3 players are using the Dark Pioneer. And Han, because they want to challenge themselves by using the worst units in the game, right? So again, these are all units that were considered. So think about it this way. If you guys have things that you think are maybe terrible garbage units, like, man, this unit I can't even use anywhere. These units, some of these units, are super relevant now, super good now, and they used to be considered like D-tier units back a couple of years ago. Because again, for the 9,000th time, this is definitely a tier list from like 2018 RTA specifically. But anyway, if you have some things that are doo-doo, they may be super OP in the future. They may be super relevant, super awesome in whatever the next meta is next season after that, whatever. So we should be getting it needs to be a substantial balance patch. Balance patch and update with update 7. It should be update 7. Summoners War 7.0 after SWC. So, yeah. I mean, Comtos needs to knock it out of the park. But anyway, that's it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Just wanted to go over this tier list. Obviously done yesterday. Obviously done yesterday. But see how things have changed, right? See how things have changed from this clearly not correct tier list from if this is currently relevant, this is not relevant. But see how things have changed from like 2018 or 2019 or whenever this tier list was actually made specifically for RTA. And also, yeah, early game players, you gotta be careful when you see things like this because it's not like, because this is kind of giving you the wrong impression that some of the units that are on the bottom of the tier list are just bad and you shouldn't build them or do anything. And then this kind of gets parroted and echoed in chat in the game by people that don't know any better, and they think that they're giving relevant information because they saw a tier list online, so it must be right because it was posted online, because everything online is always right. And then they're like, oh, whatever, like, Han is bad, garbage, rip when someone gets a Han, when someone gets a Leica in chat, rip, he's not good, rip Pontos, he's not good, rip all these things are not good because I saw a tier list online, you know? So anyway, that's it for this one. Hope you guys got a kick out of it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But yeah, it's obviously a 2018. I have to say this because someone in the comments, or probably 300 people in the comments section, are going to be like, Bagel, that's obviously an RTA tier list from like 2018. I'm like, how many times do I have to say it in the video? People are like, yeah, I totally tuned everything that you said out, and I just wanted to explain to you, like, there's so many people that explain to me things that I already know and say in the video in the comments. I'm just like, do I have to keep listening to this every year? Anyway, that's it for this one. See you guys as always in the next one.